Welcome to SAT TV News. I am Shana Esprit, your presenter for today. In our top stories, dead body washes ashore in Portsmouth. Trinidad National Security Minister resigns. FBI faces Tamalan Sunaf's questions. Details of these will follow.
No child from 2012 onwards should be born with HIV. Even if you infected with HIV, you're still a human being. You're still living, they're still breathing, so we gotta love and respect them. Darren Sami here endorsing the Live Up campaign. 2012, from now on, no Caribbean child born with HIV. We're moving forward, we're educating our people, and it's all about love, protect, respect.
Live up, shout, live up, live up.
Welcome back. 10 new members were inducted on Monday, April 22nd at a small ceremony at the UWI Open Campus. The new members were officially joined in the club membership, which consists of professionals who donate time, talent, and treasure selflessly in an effort to engage in hands-on projects throughout the Dominican community. President of the club, Ms. Conda Hamlet, expressed her desire to serve others as she addressed the new inductees at the ceremony.
And I've been delighted to take on my role as president of the Kiwanis Club for the years October 2012 to October 2014 for the reason that I love to serve. And I love to give myself towards helping, towards serving people, serving the elderly, serving the children. And for me to be president of a club where its sole purpose is to help, it's superb as it is humbling. And for me to be associated with people whose passion is to help and serve just as I do, it is rewarding.
She said collectively a better community can be built, more lives can be touched, and more people are reached. Ms. Hamlet believed that volunteering is offering your time willingly for a service, and this is what Kiwanis members are committed to doing.
So we're also focusing on building a strong friendship with one another through respect and care for each other. And finally, I would like to close by saying big congratulations to the inductees here this evening. I want to thank you for choosing to be part of something bigger than you. And I think the US President Barack Obama, he said it best when he said it, but he said, don't wait for good things to happen to you. If you go out and make some good things happen, you will fill the world with hope. You will fill yourself with hope. So I believe that the most rewarding thing that you can do is something that puts a smile on someone else's face.
Honorable Gloria Shillingford, Minister for Social Services, Community Development and Gender Affairs, applauded Kiwanis Club for their unending efforts to develop and encourage education through different avenues. She said Kiwanis is well known among the secondary schools, particularly for its annual hosting of the National Secondary Schools Debate, which is hosted between January and April.
This signature event is well received by the Ministry of Education, schools, as well as family and friends of debating students. As a former principal, I recognize the value of this activity to students, young persons across Dominica just cannot be measured.
Honorable Shillingford said the Kiwanis Club sees children as their #1 priority. The government is appreciative to them for assisting organizations where they continue to support children, namely Operation Youthquake and the Children's Ward at the Princess Margaret Hospital. In closing, she congratulated the inductees by wishing them a productive and a successful year. In more news, President of the Dominica Cooperative Societies League Limited, Mr. Cletus Joseph, says 2012 has been a very challenging year for the non-profit organization. Mr. Joseph expressed this statement at the annual AGM held on Saturday, April 20th at the Garaway Hotel.
Our main industries continue to show signs of decline in the level of income generated by them, surely a worrying sign. We also continue to grapple with the Clico-Bico debacle, which continues to eat at our surpluses on a year-by-year basis. Therefore, the League has seen it fit to take the precedence and to cleanse its books of this contagion.
The Dominica Cooperative Societies League Limited's vision is to be an efficient and effective agent for cooperative development in Dominica. Their mission is to provide the highest quality of products and services to enable affiliates to actively serve their members and to improve their living standards. The President added that one of their main core values is to engender good financial responsibility by espousing thrift and prudent lending. The movement on a whole has continued on an operational basis to provide improved services and products to its members, and this is commendable given the challenging environment in which we operate, he noted.
And the compiled data indicates that the movement is headed in the right direction. However, we need to bear in mind the increased competition and a dwindling but diverse population. Congratulations to all credit unions who have continued to serve their members during the year. Congratulations to the credit unions who continue to engage each other in the amalgamation process. Let me just mention Castlebruce, Marigot, Calabishi, and Woodfordale, who are currently still in the stages of initial discussions.
He made mention of the OECS summit the company hosted. It was a tremendous success, he said. Mr. Joseph stated that the members of the cooperative should take note of the theme of the AGM as they plan ahead. The theme is Credit Union, the Vehicle for Economic and Social Development. Mr. Joseph informed the public that this year is his final year as president. He sent out his heartfelt gratitude to those who supported him greatly.
Mrs. Bellamy, who we expected to be here, but she cannot due to some family matters, a real trailblazer, a real person who encourages you to go for the best and likes to see things done. Mrs. Roy, manager of the Vickers branch, who initially introduced me to the concept of volunteerism in the credit union movement. I must say, I was spoiled by this. Mr. Kati, thanks for your quiet words usually whispered. All of you who have played a part during my tenure, special thanks to the league staff who have been very cooperative. Sometimes I may have done things to have gotten them angry, but I was accepted.
In other stories, the head of the Plant Protection and Quarantine Unit, Mr. Ryan Ansem, says there is a reason for the Ministry of Agriculture to be worried, as a recent report from the Florida Department of Agriculture has revealed an infestation of the giant African snail in that state. Ms. Denise Afiba, a spokeswoman for the Florida Department of Agriculture and Consumer Services, noted more than 1,000 of the snails are being caught each week in Miami-Dade County, and 117,000 in total since the first snail was spotted by a homeowner in September 2011. Mr. Ansem said they are all concerned, especially as the last thing they need right now is the reinfestation of the snail in Dominica, as they trade in a number of commodities such as fresh fruits and vegetables, vehicles and equipment with Florida.
The Ministry of Agriculture, over the years, we have managed to contain the giant African snail only in Dodan. The efforts of the government of Dominica in providing financial assistance in trying to eradicate the snail is of very much significant. We have successfully managed the snail, and the entire program is to look for means and put effective program in place to eradicate the snail. And we believe that our efforts are leading to achieve eradication of giant African snail, because since 2005 we have managed to contain the snail only in Dodan. In terms of the recent infestation in Florida, we are concerned particularly that the species that is in Florida is not the same species that we have in Dominica.
He said the species in Florida contains a long, warm nematode that is called a vector, which is very dangerous to humans and animals. He noted if a human consumes the snail in its raw form, or it comes in contact with a water stream, it can be very dangerous to the health of humans and animals alike. Mr. Ansem mentioned that the giant African snail is considered one of the most destructive invasive species, feeding voraciously on more than 500 plant species. They can also eat through plaster walls, which provides the calcium content they need for their shells.
So we are very much concerned with the infestation in Florida. That is why we have put measures in place in terms of our quarantine officers on the port to do a more thorough inspection of all commodities, used vehicles, used tires, and conveyance that comes from the port of Florida. We are also working with the University of Florida on a number of projects. For example, they are assisting us with the eradication of Wang Longbin, which is commonly known as the citrus greening disease. And they have provided significant assistance in providing the necessary natural enemies, the parasitoids, to fight against the vector. They have provided training in terms of PCR training to detect many pests and diseases. So we are very much concerned with the recent infestation of giant African snail in Florida.
He said what they have done is analyze the pathway that the snail can come into Dominica and are looking at the container trade very seriously, as the snail is a very good hitchhiker. They can attach themselves onto a container used vehicle, used equipment, and even soil material that come into Dominica, Mr. Ansem added.
Soil is a very good pathway for snails to come in as eggs. So the snail normally lay their eggs in soil. So if you're bringing soil into the country, which is strictly prohibited, one can't bring any soil material on plants, on vehicles, on used tires. So we're asking the general public to work with the plant protection and quarantine services and comply to this very important procedure and regulation, where we're telling you, once you want to import any agricultural commodities, please apply for an import permit and do not smuggle, do not hide these commodities to bring into the country.
He said when these rules are not followed, the perpetrators are putting the country at risk and introduce a pest or disease to the country that may reintroduce the giant African snail to Dominica. He also indicated that Dominican's giant African snail population has been reduced significantly as a result of implemented measures to contain the snail by the Ministry of Agriculture. In more stories, Dominicans are being warned to ensure they take all weather advisories serious, as the 2013 hurricane season has been predicted to be above average. This was a serious message which came from Mr. Cecil Shillingford, former National Disaster Coordinator for Dominica. He made the statement following a report where Professor Emeritus Dr. William Gray and Dr. Philip Klabak predicted another above-average hurricane season. This year's forecast is for 18 named storms, of which 9 are expected to be hurricanes and 4 being major hurricanes of categories 3, 4, or 5.
It means then that our people must be proactive, and we should begin making all necessary preparedness, do all our preparedness activities almost immediately, because we are almost at the start of the hurricane season, the official start, which is June 1. But we can already see what is happening with this trough system that is over us as we speak, and has been dumping a lot of rains on us, and we even had a couple of deaths as a result. So this just tells us that we should be putting everything in place just in the event that the system is really, really very active.
Mr. Shillingford says persons who live along the coastline should take all necessary precautions to be prepared against storm surges, which can be very dangerous, as the passage of Hurricane Lenny a few years ago demonstrated. Dr. Gray and Dr. Klabak noted there is a possibility for major hurricanes making landfall along the U.S. coastline and in the Caribbean. They reminded coastline residents that it only takes one hurricane making landfall to make it an active season for them. Mr. Shillingford said Dominicans should follow the instructions given by the Meteorological Office to protect themselves, and they should not be complacent if a hurricane does not make landfall. This is because any of the secondary effects of a storm or hurricane can significantly affect the country.
Again, we can recall Hurricane Ophelia a couple of years ago. That was so long gone, and there was this cloud mass lingering behind that dumped a lot of rain on us, and we saw what happened in the areas of Mahomasak and Capefield and that general area. So Dominicans just have to prepare, hope for the best, prepare for the worst.
He mentioned a normal hurricane season would include 12 named storms, 6 hurricanes where 3 could be intense. It has been observed for the last few years that the Caribbean has been faced with above average hurricane seasons with 18 to 20 named storms. The former National Disaster Coordinator said what worries them is the fact that Dominicans do not take the advisories of the Meteorological Office seriously, which needs to stop.
Our people are last-minute people. You will provide an advisory, and it's only when the system is upon them they will take action. What we are telling people is stay tuned to the radio station, listen to the advisories from the Dominica Met Services, and once they are warned about the system, they should take it seriously and do the things that the National Office tells them to do from time to time. It's not a joke. I will refer to what happened over the last few days. We saw it's just a small system over us that's dumping a lot of rain and triggering a lot of landslides and what have you, and we lost 2 people. So these are things that need to be taken seriously.
He added we all need to do all in our power to ensure that history does not repeat itself when weather advisories were not taken seriously, resulting in a loss of life and infrastructural damage. The better prepared we are, the more effective we are in reducing the negative effects of these events. In health-related news, the Ministry of Health, in collaboration with the Pan American Health Organization, on Tuesday, April 23rd, held an opening ceremony for the Surveillance of Healthcare-Associated Infections workshop. This was held at the Gare Hotel Conference Room from 8:30 a.m. National epidemiologist Dr. Paul Ricketts said, for many years, Dominica has taken cognizance of the importance as well as the impact of infections, particularly those that are acquired at hospitals and other health facilities.
Particularly those which are of antimicrobial resistance or antimicrobial resistant organisms, which of course have significant impact on our patients. I'm also delighted that so many of you are here from the Ministry of Health, but in particular our international facilitators, as well, who I'll introduce in a short while as they speak, as well as for our international participants from Antigua and Barbuda, from Barbados, the British Virgin Islands, Grenada, St. Lucia, and St. Vincent and the Grenadines.
Dr. David Johnson, Chief Medical Officer, is extremely pleased that Dominica was chosen as the venue to conduct this important workshop. It is hoped that at the end of the workshop, the participants who are visiting Dominica for the first time will recommend Dominica as the venue to PAHO to host similar workshops in the future.
Ladies and gentlemen, colleagues and friends, whereas your facilitators over the next few days will be discussing with you the technical aspect with regards to surveillance of healthcare facilities associated infections, I wish, however, to use this opportunity to flag some of the broad parameters which define the tasks that confront us. Healthcare facility-associated infections are indeed a challenge for all of us in the region. These infections can and sometimes cause or result in deaths, extended stays in hospitals, or long-term disability for our patients.
Advisor at the PAHO office in Barbados and Eastern Caribbean countries, Ms. Thais dos Santos, looks forward to working with our dedicated staff in Dominica. Ms. Dos Santos added that their objective is to strengthen surveillance systems for healthcare-associated infections.
And we will do that by presenting and discussing the main methodologies of surveillance of healthcare-associated infections and how to analyze that data that is generated from that surveillance. This training will be participatory. There will be some presentations, but many exercises, a lot of time for discussions. So we really would like to invite you to speak up, to say your concerns, and to share with us our experience, because we all learn from that experience.
Minister of Health, Honorable Julius Timothy, noted that these infections represent a challenge that requires immediate, strong, and sustained attention.
Our infant mortality rate rose to 29.9 per 1,000 births in 2011. Most of these deaths associated with prematurity and infection. As a result, the government of Dominica, with funding from the European Union, has embarked on a project to reduce infant mortality to 10 per 1,000 births by 2019. I think we should inform the public that infant mortality will never be zero. There is always a level of infant mortality.
In more stories, Police Public Relations Officer Mr. John Cabon stated that the Portsmouth Police are currently investigating an incident where a female body was identified in the Portsmouth area. Take a listen to Mr. Cabon as he gives further details of the case.
The Portsmouth Police are investigating an incident where a female body identified to be that of Anne Paul Wallace, 47 years of Portsmouth, was found floating in the sea about 300 feet from the Portsmouth market by a fisherman about 12:45 p.m. on April 22, 2013. She was a known psychiatric patient.
The body was then transported to the Reginald Fitzroy Armour Hospital, where it was pronounced dead on arrival. A coroner's inquest will be convened and a post-mortem will follow. Investigations are continuing. Meanwhile, Mr. Cabon has given an update with regards to the investigation being carried out by the police on the death of Mr. John Ferdy Blaise.
John Ferdy Blaise of Layu, who was found in an unconscious state at his house in Layu on April 17, 2013. The police have taken 2 men into custody and they are being questioned in relation to Ferdy's death.
Mr. John Ferdy Blaise was discovered at approximately 11:30 p.m. on Wednesday, April 17, in a pool of blood at his house in Layu. He succumbed to his injuries and was pronounced dead on the scene. Mr. Blaise was described as a kind, humble man who contributed greatly to the community of Layu. Anyone with further information is asked to call 1-800-TIPS or 1-800-HINT. This has been the local segment of the news. Coming up next, regional highlights.